Hi everyone, in today's video we will be studying the topic Consequences of Disintegration from our class 12 Political Science. So in the previous video we talked about the reasons or the factors responsible for the disintegration of the Soviet Union, which was due to the economic stagnation, then administrative reasons and the national aspirations. In today's lecture we'll be attending what were the consequences or impact of the disintegration. The first is that it meant the end of Cold War confrontations. So basically, before that or during the time period of Cold War, there was the ideological disputes. Ideological disputes whether the capitalist system or the Soviet system, how would they were competing, right? Whether the socialist system would be able to beat the capitalist system. So this was the ideological dispute during that time. Also, it triggered the massive armies. So both these ideologies, so they wanted to always be ahead in the arms race, and that is why the reason it was also the accumulation of nuclear weapons. But after the Soviet Union disintegrated, so then this all was ended, and so it was believed that there will be a new possible peace. This is the first pointer, that it meant the end of Cold War confrontations, that is the ideological dispute would end, which will result, so basically that had resulted in a massive arms race and the accumulation of nuclear weapons. All of this would be over. The second point is that power relations in the world politics will be changed, and therefore the relative influence of the ideas and institutions will also change. So the power relations means who will have what power in the world politics, that changed because of the disintegration of USSR, and whose ideas and whose influence will be more, that also changed. Now this led to two possibilities. Either there will be a unipolar system or a multipolar system. Unipolar system, that the remaining superpower would dominate and hence therefore create a unipolar system, or the different countries or the group of countries, they would become important players in the international system, and thereby they would bring a multipolar system where no one power could dominate. Here in the multipolar system, there is no one power which will be dominating. It is in the unipolar system where is that one superpower is going to dominate, and that superpower will have the influence all over the world. But here in the multipolar system, there will be many such countries or many such group of countries who would be important in the international system. Outcome was that what actually happened was that the US, it became the sole superpower. So there was a unipolar system in reality, right? US became the sole superpower. So because of this, backed by the power and prestige of the US, the capitalist economy was now the dominant economic system internationally. Internationally, they thought if the socialist system is beaten up, that means definitely capitalist system has some benefits. So that is the reason it became the dominant economic system internationally. And also the institutions like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, they were the powerful advisors who would give loans to the countries for the transition to capitalism. And politically, the notion of liberal democracy, that emerged as a best way to organize political life. This was the second reason, wherein the power relations in the world politics changed, and therefore the relative influence of ideas and institutions also changed, because the end of Cold War left open two possibilities. Either there will be a unipolar system or there will be a multipolar system. In the unipolar system, the remaining superpower would dominate, and in the multipolar system, the different countries and group of countries would come together. And they would become the important players in the national system, and here no one power could dominate. But in reality, US became the sole superpower, and its ideology, which is the capitalist economy, it was the dominant economic system. The third and the last point is the end of Soviet bloc meant the emergence of many new countries. That is, that when the Soviet bloc or the USSR disintegrated, that meant the emergence of new countries, and these new countries will have its own independent choices and aspirations, right? So when we talked about the USSR, so it was mainly divided into three parts. Right? It was divided into three parts. Something like this: Russia, Central Asian republics, and the Eastern Europe. And here was the Baltic states. So the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, plus the East European states, they wanted to join the EU, and after joining the EU, they wanted to become the part of NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Whereas the Central Asian republics, they took the benefit of their geographical location, and they maintained close ties with Russia and also the West, US and China, etc., other countries as well. So this was all about your topic, that is consequences of disintegration. Here I would also like to remind you that this is just a one short revision where we skimmed through the topics. Here the revision is just before the exam. So if you are watching this video before the exam, you will have all your points revised in just few minutes. And this was the motive of this video. If you want a detailed explanation of the topic, then there will be a separate video for that. Thank you.